Make real change. Make change real. The process is beautiful. Empower your mentality to make real change in the world. This is Coach King. Um, so we've been talking about development, the D and the idea. And when I say we, I feel like I talk to myself more than I talk to you. I need to work on doing like lives or something like that so that I can begin to actually engage a real audience. More to come. It's so interesting I say that because we're talking about social development. I know we talked about, or I talked about personal development and how it's an inside, it's cultivating oneself. And that is important for everyone to look inward first before you look outward. That is a reflective trait. You go back to reflections, looking at doing a self reflection, understanding where you are, what you're doing in the moment, what you're thinking about, understanding what's in your heart, what's in your subconscious mind. I just did a post that said subconscious limitations are limiting you from your future. It's keeping you from becoming the person that you ultimately need to become. And it's hindering your development because you have subconscious laws that everybody else has placed inside your head when you were a kid, when you're an adult. It could be parents, it could be coaches, teachers, anybody who influenced you growing up had this level of ability to create these subconscious laws for you. The idea for me is to help you recognize it first, identify that, and then begin to, undo these subconscious laws that are keeping you from making decisions, your future, all of the above. Okay, enough about that. Let's go to social development. So, what is social development? I start off with 1 Peter 4:10. That is the anchor. Each one should use whatever gift he has received to serve others, faithfully administering God's grace in its various forms. If personal development is the cultivation of the self, then social development is the cultivation of community. It is the recognition that growth was never meant to be confined to the individual. So growth wasn't just meant to just be for you. It's an everybody thing. Okay, everybody's meant to grow. If I was the only one growing, what's the point? Okay. Growth matures when it extends its roots outward, when it connects, contributes, and collaborates. So it's through community. So the maturing of your growth. So yeah, I can grow personally. I do grow. But when I actually grow and I mature, that is when collaboration, contribution, and connection come into play. You were never designed to grow in isolation. Even the healthiest trees relies on its environment. So remember about placement. The ecosystem of sunlight relies on water, relies on nutrients, and everything that it relies on in this environment. The healthiest tree, it uses these things to sustain its life. So trees just don't grow in isolation. They need water, they need nourishment, they need sunlight. They need all of those things in order for them to grow. So you were never designed to grow in isolation. Just remember that. We're, it's funny because you see on the internet how it says that God has designed us, right? And God puts us in isolation to um, develop us, right? Okay. This is not that isolation I'm talking about. Even in the wilderness, there was an environment that solitude brings, right? It allows you to really go deep in your connection with God. Okay. Um, it's the same type of concept, but in this, we're using trees as the source or the analogy. Okay. And the environment of a tree, yes, it may be solitude, but the environment in which it actually feeds that growth is the sunlight, the water, and the nutrients. Okay. So, in the same way, your growth depends on the environment of relationships in a social developmental standpoint. You need relationships to develop, you need a network. All you network heads out there, people who like networking, conferencing, serial conferencers, raise your hands, right? You need that if you're going to grow socially. So if you want to grow your social media page, you got to get out and get to know people, right? You got to pump yourself. You got to pump your brand. You got to put yourself out there. And then also, growth depends on the environment and the communities that you nurture. So, yeah, you hear this, there was this buzzword, 2 or 3 years ago about join my community. That's what they're talking about. They're trying to grow the social media space. So the development of their social media page was through the community that they were nurturing, through the content that they were creating, right? That was the value for that community was through the content. The soil of social development is connection. The soil of social development is connection. So when we connect as a personal trainer, that was the best thing. If you're sales, if you're in sales, if you're in personal training, all of that, the beauty of sales is being able to connect to the customer, the client. You can't sell anything without connection. You're going to be broke. Okay. So the same thing with social development, the soil, the ground, the placement is being connected to such thing. The thing that is going to nourish you, you have to be connected to in social development. Okay. Social development is the transformation of I into we. So it's more of an inclusive environment. It's not about you. It's about we. It's about us. It's the understanding that our gifts, when shared, multiply in impact. When you pour into others, you create ripple effects. It's like take a faucet, for example, pour into it, see what happens. Pour into a faucet or pour into a bucket. Sorry. When a faucet pours into the sink, it creates ripples. It creates like almost a tunneling effect of water. That's the same thing you do. Okay. When you pour, that ripple effect happens. Okay. And it benefits everyone around you. You create the change, and it far exceeds what you could achieve alone. And that ripple effect is like a paying it forward type message, right? It's like, man, he did that for me. Can I do that for someone else? So when you use your gifts and you understand that and you share what your gift or you share your gift, it multiplies the impact that it has on everyone else around you. Okay. And eventually you begin to exceed what you could achieve because now you're not doing this by yourself. Remember the rocky places? The person who tries to start the business and do it alone? You can't do it by yourself, bro. You're going to burn out. And see, this thing is how societies have evolved over the years. Over centuries, societies have thrived and developed based on this rippling effect. Cultures have began to shape our world based on this rippling effect. Teachers have put philosophies into students' heads, which we've adapted as truth through this rippling effect. And that has developed our social society itself, our social environment. Facebook has done that. And we call Facebook, in its inception, Facebook was a social networking tool. LinkedIn, social networking tool, right? And whatever you post impacts the ideas that someone else has. You have the power to change the world through your social words, your social authority, and you develop your network based off of what you put out into this social media space, right? So you create ripples in that space. And that's how Facebook had evolved. That's how social media has evolved. Now it's a giant ad agency for business because people saw that they could connect with the customer on a personal level through social media. Now the algorithm, for example, I look at a watch, for example, or I even say it. I go to my social media feed and I'm flooded with whatever it is that I was just looking at. If I took a screenshot of something that's marketable or branded, all of a sudden that algorithm picks it up and it's in my feed. That's the ripple effect. That's the best way to explain this. And that's the evolutionary aspect of this thing. The evolutionary aspect of society changing in social development is best described like that. So that's also a transfer of wisdom. It's also a transfer of empathy and shared responsibility amongst all of us. But you got to understand something. Before a society can grow, it must first heal. Growth without unity becomes division disguised as progress. So we should not just grow without being together. So if you had think about this, if there was a whole bunch of trees growing together, I mean, this might be a bad analogy, but if you had a whole bunch of things growing without contribution or connection, think about what that society would look like. If you had a whole bunch of trees that grew without soil, what would that society look like? Do you think that it would actually produce fruit? What kind of fruit would it be? What would that look like? Is that even possible? Okay. What would a society of human beings do if they grew without collaboration, without shared ideas or wisdom? Think about a church who didn't agree on anything. They grew in stature, but not in agreement. There would be a lot of fights, a lot of disagreements. Paul traveled trying to unify the Jew and the Gentile. That's what that looks like, which ended up imprisonments, death, okay, in some aspects. People getting beheaded over this type of stuff. So growth without unity becomes division disguised as progress. Both sides think they're progressing, but they're only going further away from each other in that progress. They're not going anywhere closer to each other. It's like politics, right wing, left wing. The further they think they're progressing, the actually further away from the middle they're going. And the people in the middle just get pulled further and further and further and stretched and stretched and stretched. Okay? So there's no healing there. Healing begins when we start to see others not as competition. I think I I came up with something. I said, I don't really like competition, to be honest. Now, don't get me wrong. I love sports. I love competing. But when I am trying to grow, competition can be the biggest barrier for my growth because it leads to comparison and leveraging another person or human being, especially in a relationship. If I'm competing with you all the time, that means I am pushing you down for my own gain. Think about football. In order to win, you have to out-muscle, you have to out-push, you have to outwork another individual. You have to sweat and push them out of the way, leverage them, right? Think about wrestling. It's all about pushing a person out of that ring or pinning them down, dominating them, okay? Not saying there's anything wrong with domination, but competition in a growth environment, it is, some say, would be healthy, because how else will you learn without competition? But for me, it should be collaborative, a team that grows together. When we replace comparison with compassion, you have to, like, competition is comparing myself, sizing myself up. And here's the thing. I would rather be on Shaq's team than be on the receiving end of that. Because if I compare myself to a 7'2", 300-pound man and the game is basketball, I'm losing. But if I'm on the man's team, come on now, I'm winning. But the whole thing is that's the goal is not competition. It's compassion for one another. So in a social development, we're not even social development has nothing to do with entertainment, right? So that is the distinction, is the actual theme itself. Because what I'm talking about is social. Just how we communicate with one another. I'm not kind of trying to compete with my communication with you. I don't learn anything by competing communications with you. So socially, I have to connect with you. I have to fight to understand with you. And I have to show compassion for what you're saying. Being compassionate. God never called us to comparison. He called us to contribution. Adding value to what another person believes, adding value to the society that we live in, adding value to our workplace, adding value to the marketplace with new, fresh ideas, iPhones, AI technology that makes things more productive, adding value. That's contribution to our society. Yes, you can go overboard with that and begin to worship AI. Hold on. Did he just say worship AI? Well, if you put that first and not other things in the Bible and God, then you are worshiping AI. So social development asks us each, what are you building that benefits more than just yourself? I'll say that again. What are you building that benefits more than just yourself? What is it that you are doing that's benefiting other people? Social development is about someone else benefiting and growing. Social development is not about you anymore. It's about the community. It's about us. It's about we. It's inclusive. Okay? It's not about what you can achieve. It's not your personal accolades. It's not your achievements, but it's about how we can advance other people. That is the social development. It's not only about what you gain, it's about what you give back to the society. Now, sorry, Myron, I know you don't like giving back. It's about what you give. It's not the accumulation of wealth. It's the distribution of wisdom that transforms communities. Wisdom is what? Applied knowledge and experiences. Okay? And understanding that happens. So when you share those, when you distribute what you understand and what you have experienced through understanding that you've applied to your life, when you share that with the community, it transforms them. It develops the community. So think of social development as the architecture of belonging. It is the blueprint. It is the dimensions of why we're here, of why we're in this place. It brings meaning to why I'm here. So social development is the architecture. It is the blueprint. It is the skeleton. It's the structure of belonging in that community. Okay? It's the process of constructing systems, institutions, and relationships that empower people to live with dignity, purpose, and equality. Whether you're leading a team, a company, a family, or a movement, your influence shapes the environment of those who follow. When you grow socially, you begin to understand that leadership is not about being on top or being at the top. It's about bringing others with you. You hear Kevin Hart, you hear a lot of billionaires talking about, hey, I want everybody to be rich. It's interesting that millionaires and people who have money want everybody around them to be rich. They want everybody around them to have money. Why is that? Because if they needed it, they know they could come to you to help their big size problems. People who have billions of dollars have $1 billion problems. So they need billionaires to help them solve these $1 billion problems. So why wouldn't they want you to have $1 billion? That's crazy. Capitalism is good, but really those people who are capitalists really need more capitalists around them to sustain. Think about it. It doesn't benefit them if everybody around them's broke, because they'll lose everything trying to be responsible for everything. They need to distribute the wealth. Sorry, I butchered that word. Your influence shapes the environments of those who follow you. So your influence, so the people that follow you, it shapes your environment. It shapes the environment. Okay? And by using your leadership, you can actually change environments. Okay? That is the power of your influence. When you grow socially, you begin to understand that leadership is not about being at the top. And I already said that. Okay? Create space for others so that they can rise with you. So your influence should be used to create spaces so that other people can arise with you. That is social development at its core. Socially. So when we're talking, I want you to come with me. Follow me. I'll follow you. Somebody got to lead this. But either way, let's rise together. Let's get up and stop struggling. Let's make a move. Let's create a business. Shoot, let's talk about something that is worthwhile. Let's not sit here and complain, but let's dream. Let's think on these things. Come on now, let's go. So in the garden of growth, social development is the season of expansion. So we go back to the garden. Personal development is cultivation of oneself. In the garden of growth, it is about expanding such growth. Okay. It is when the roots start intertwining with other roots. Wait a minute. When your progress begins to produce fruit for those around you, the fruit nourishes the next generation. And you got to think about it. If your fruit has a seed, it falls to the ground, it produces more trees, right? But that fruit also in that ecosystem feeds thousands. So that fruit nourishes the next generation and ensures that your impact outlives your time. So think about sustainability plans. This is where your faith meets the function. Faith teaches us to love our neighbor as we love ourselves. Function challenges us to build systems that reflect that type of love. So if you love yourself and you're personally developing, you can build a system that reflects that you love yourself based off of your neighbor's success. So if you love yourself, the people around you will be successful as well. Because the function challenges us to build systems that help everyone else around us. Social development is not just emotions, it's structure. It's the way we design organizations, the honor. And we design organizations that honor humility as well. Okay? It is the way we listen to understand each other, not just to respond. Because when we understand each other, true connection begins. There's a mutual respect that happens in that social environment. You create friends, not fans. I don't want an applause from you. I want your friendship. I want to develop a deeply connected relationship with this individual because we can rise together when we understand each other. It is in the way we ensure that opportunities are not exclusive privileges like we do with fans, right? Only fans. I don't have one, never been on it. But exclusive privileges, that's a fan. But it creates inclusive platforms. Hey, join me on my podcast. Let's talk. Let's talk about suicidal ideation, how it's an issue. What is it that you experienced during that time? Is there a way we can improve our healthcare system to fast track you? Is there a way we can make these rooms actually have windows so you're not feeling like you're not a human being? Can we get rid of violent restraints? Can we deal with people who have lost their mind with mutual respect? Can we better train ourselves to de-escalate issues? Do we have early stage signs for medications for people who are going through those type of chronic mental illnesses? Is there a precursor to suicidal ideations? Think about that. But we create these inclusive platforms so that we can all grow socially. I love seeing people host each other. TD Jakes just had Jeezy and Tyrese. Come on now. That's awesome. You would think that, a pastor wouldn't have, these quote unquote centermen, rappers on his platform. But think about it. It's an inclusive platform so that everybody can grow socially. It's about social development. Real social growth requires courage. The courage to confront inequity, to bridge divides like rapper and pastor, and to see diversity as a divine design. Differences is God's design. He created male and he created female. A huge difference. Okay? God designed it that way. Growth happens when we stop speaking at each other and start speaking with each other. Speaking at someone, hey, you, come here. Speaking with, hey, I didn't know your name. Questions, curiosity is speaking with them. Not speaking at them, hey, put that over there. Parents, we're guilty. I know I am. Hey, buddy, put that over there. Instead of saying, hey, can you put that over there? That's two different ways of communicating. One develops you socially. The other one, you're just kind of like, who are you talking to? Who you think you're talking to? You talking to the flow? Right. When we build communities anchored in empathy and equity, we reflect the kingdom model, where each part of the body has a purpose and every function contributes to the whole. Remember, your personal development is the seed. Social development is the garden. Okay? So that is the actual environment in which we grow. Remember how I was talking about how it's about placement? You're the farmer, you sow the seed. So the seed is your personal development, where you want your personal development to grow. The social development is the actual hedge, the garden itself. The garden, not the soil, the garden, okay? When your growth begins to influence the growth of others, you have entered the next dimension of development. Let me say that again. When your growth begins to influence the growth of others. So what I'm producing in my developmental period, and it starts to grow other people, there's another dimension that we go into of development. Because ultimately, social progress is not measured by how high one person can climb, but how many people can I get to come with me? It's a Ponzi scheme. I'm sorry, bad analogy. But no, it kind of seems like a Ponzi scheme. Nah, it's not a Ponzi scheme. That's bad. That's just terrible. It's not a Ponzi scheme. But what it is how many people can I get to come and grow with me? It looks just like your social media page. How many followers can I have? How many followers of, influencers can I have, right? Can I be an influencer? That is the genius of that idea. As much as I see the problems with social media, the foundational belief or the way that thing has developed, it describes it perfectly. How many people can I rise with me, right? Remember, it was like, follow me and I follow you. Remember that was the whole trend? Hey, man, if you follow me, I'll follow you back. 2 months later, you unfollowed them. You unfollowed everybody. Yeah, no, I got 1,000 followers and I only follow one person, right? That's what people do. That's how they used to get you, right? But it's about how we can rise together. It's not about me being better than you, me having more impressions on my LinkedIn page, who it is that's following you or liking your page. We turn this social development into weaponizations in a way, holding people's accountable for things that it wasn't even intended for. It's supposed to help us rise together. So use your platforms wisely. Don't use your platforms to weaponize everybody else. Use it so people can learn and grow socially so that we can have a safer space. I hate to be Mother Teresa or like Gandhi about this, but really the message is clear. Rise together. And as we continue this journey, that's a social statement. We move from the relational to the structural, from development of people to development of systems. Okay. And a systematic development is also known as the economic development, where we learn how the principles of stewardship, management, sustainability, and strategy transform not just lives, but the legacy that we carry. Okay, that's it. I know it was probably boring for you, but it was not for me. If you like this channel, subscribe, like, smash that button. This is Coach King. Make real change. Make change real. The process is beautiful. Empower your mentality. Make real change in the world. Peace out.